All right.
So many.
Yes. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
Yes.
My name is Blake Braswell. I'm show director for the Scare Zones for Creative Development.
I'm Charles Gray, show director for creative development with the houses this year.
I am Mike Aiello. I'm David Hughes. I am the manager of the scenic design department.
Cool. I feel like we could scoot our chairs closer.
Can we?
Yeah. Are we letting me get a little closer to you guys? Okay, I don't smell too bad.
Good.
Okay.
Oh, what did I sit on? Let's get comfy for a moment.
We know some of you have some questions, so
We hope you have questions. Lots of questions. We'll answer.
if you
all
don't,
the
we're gonna go get some pizza fries.
churro fries.
Churro.
So we have a couple people out here with mics. So if you have a question, just please raise your hand, please, and they'll run over and we'll answer, like I said, anything you have. Don't be shy. Someone be first. Right here. We got where's our where? Oh, we got. I'm sorry. We got one down here. Go ahead. Okay. Yep. Hit it.
How do you decide when you're going through the list of scare zones and houses, which ones should be houses versus scare zones?
We'll start. Well, I'll just give you a little brief overview of how we develop the event. Typically, we start with houses, simply because those are the things that take the longest. They take a full year to develop. Just to fill you in, we're going to take Monday through Friday. We're going to be here at work, but we're kind of just stop thinking about Halloween if we can for a week. The following week, we start next year. We start our HHN 30. Woo! So we will spend several months just sitting around developing the ideas for the houses. Some of them will be the intellectual properties, our like Stranger Things and Ghostbusters, all of those. And then we'll come up with our original houses as well during that time. Streets usually starts a little later, although we try to get it as early as possible. I think this year we started January, February, was it?
Yeah, but when they start their beginning conceptual, I'll kind of jump in and get a feel for where the event is going on the house front, and plus with the IPs. And the same thing, sometimes we actually might know the street IP early too.
Early, yeah.
As well. So then we can kind of figure out how to complement, each other.
And what we try to, even with the houses and then to the streets as well, we try to create a well-rounded event where all the houses aren't about slaughter and killing. There's fun houses, there's supernatural houses there. So we're trying to do a little bit of everything for the houses, and then that eats over into the streets as well. We need different types. You have Hollywood, which is a little bit more gore and blood. You have the zombies in the Zombieland, and then Vikings. So it's again trying to create an event that doesn't feel like the same. And every year we do everything new again. So we have to look back at last year and say, what did we do last year? And let's try not to repeat ourselves as much as possible. Although it's a horror genre, it's kind of hard. It's like, how many different permutations can you make? So next, answer your question.
Want to just bounce back and forth?
Yeah.
We'll let you guys guide it and say, I got one over here.
So what IP have you guys been chasing after, that has something that's been on your mind other than obviously Ghostbusters that you guys haven't been able to grab a hold of that you guys really want?
Well, to be honest, it is hard to not say Ghostbusters because that was
because that was one of the chasing for so long.
Yeah.
I'll say, and to be honest, it's hard to say what we want to do because we also don't know what we're able to do there. To be transparent, there are a lot of contracts that need to be signed and approaching, especially if it's IPs that we don't particularly own, it's other studios, etc. So I can't say anything we haven't done because we might be chasing that currently.
Right, yeah.
I don't want to be the one that screws up the deal. That's the thing. But if it's out, let me put it this way: if it's popular and really touches a chord with the audience, it's probably something we've thought of. I mean, we've gone through everything. Basically every year we'll look at all the properties that are out there, and we'll make our sort of a wish list, top 10 list. We'll even dig down to things that we want to do.
Yeah, there's usually like that
Killer Clowns.
Killer Clowns.
Yeah,
So Cabin in the Woods, Killer Clowns. All those ones were like ones that didn't necessarily had like a niche feel to it. And then since we're
Ash vs. Evil Dead was another one, yeah.
then we're like, can't we really want to do that one. And
Yeah,
we're like,
I
all right, fine.
Yeah, nobody was screaming for Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And then we did it in the street zone. It was like, holy crap, people really like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So, trust me, there are things out there that we would love to do. Some of them we are unable to do for whatever reason, and then others we just haven't got there yet. We haven't had the opportunity to do that. So, I don't think there's anything we haven't heard of out there that we haven't explored or brought up on our big giant wish list of stuff to do.
Hey guys, thanks for the houses. Love what you do.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have you ever considered having any of the actors from like Ghostbusters or Zombieland or anything like that come here like you did for Stranger Things if they got to do a tour of the house?
I mean, I would say usually whenever we work on a property, the invite's kind of open. It's just the people are,
Yeah.
man, we would love, they're working on, just like we were talking about, we start working on Halloween 30 in a week. But those guys too, like their lives and their projects and what they're working on, the way they're overlaid, their calendars they're pretty slammed.
cool.
So it's fortunate when we can get someone in between stuff like that.
Yeah, if we could get Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, you know. But yeah,
Just to hang out.
I would love that. Absolutely.
But I mean, we got the Chiodo brothers here. That was
Yeah.
awesome, and
Their enthusiasm's like infectious about.
oh yeah, I love those guys. They're awesome. And then we got to talk to the Reitmans, father and son. That was pretty.
Oh
cool.
yeah, Ivan and Jason. Yeah, and you know, it's a scheduling thing too. A lot of those people that work on those things are West Coast people, so that it's logistically difficult just to get everybody out here to do that thing when they can also go to the USH thing, which is right in their backyard, and do whatever promotional things. So yeah, we would love to get some of those people out here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, what is your favorite show, house, and street that you've ever done, and why?
Ever?
Yes, ever.
No. I need to think. That's right.
Because he's got a mind for the Rolodex.
Yeah. Why don't you go first?
Before the days the oceans drank Atlantis. My favorite thing that I got to work on, it's weird because like sometimes something I might not, if something comes to me and I go, well actually Rob Zombie's is a really good example. When I was asked to like investigate what to do with that for a zone, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it's not a storyline, so what am I going to do here? And I wasn't sure how it was going to come together. To be honest, it sounds awesome. I mean, it's like living in a rock concert, a rock video. So sometimes stuff catches you by surprise. We never quite know sometimes. Sometimes you go, this is what people are going to love, and people like it, and the thing you were like, I don't know if that's going to work, ends up being everybody's like favorite thing. But for me personally, as far as like having a very much a slice of Blake's brain out on the street, it was the invasion zone with the spaceship crashed in the 50s. That little kitschy sci-fi stuff, that's me all day long. I love that stuff. It made me so happy when they let me do that. Yeah. I got theremins up in there. It was great.
Oh, theremin. Sweet theremin. Yeah, I think if you're talking about like a slice of our brain, I kind of, it's not much there. A sniver. Dollhouse of the Damned is one of my favorites. And Carnival Graveyard Live. Like, I'm more bent towards that type of, like, I like to have the jump out scares, but I like to have like a, what the heck was that feeling behind stuff too. I think there's something fun about that. I think I almost like it when not everybody gets it. And I know that's not a good marketing thing to say, but that's how some people kind of go, there's a giant baby heads with the legs hanging out of them, I don't know. I was scared to death, but I don't know what I saw. And I go, yes! I'm real excited. And I like backstories behind things. Like I could just, just sit and talk back. Like last year I wrote kind of like a Bible of all the characters and how they knew each other and all that kind of stuff, and I shared it with the cast, and I like that kind of like deep dive. And even if you don't get it, when you're walking through, that You know, it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun. So,
I've been doing this for 20 years, so it's really hard to think of. But I will go back. I remember 2011, way back in that was 8 years ago. That was the first year we did Nightingales. I think we did The Thing. We did the Edgar Allan Poe house. There was just so much variety, and I remember just all the sets seemed, in depth and everything. So that whole year, I really, really liked. I also loved the second year. I liked the first year too, but the second year we did, I think it was the second year, I'm so confused, the American Horror Story. I was, it was super long, and it was like, wow, this actually feels like the show and everything. So, and then one of the things I always love, and Blake sort of touched on this, where, if you're doing all this content, you have in your mind the things that are working, the things that are not going to, it's like, it's not going to work. And there's always something that surprises you. And the one for me during developing it, because it was just so hard to picture it as a house, was last year's Poltergeist. And I was like, let's try some of this stuff. Yeah, and it wasn't until, literally it wasn't until we got the performers in there rehearsing in costume that I was like, holy crap, this is kind of scary. This is, when walking through those first tunnels, I was like, this is awesome. So that one took me completely off guard, pleasantly off guard, and it seemed to track real well with all the guests, everybody out there, because it was always in the sort of top 3 of everybody's favorite house.
There was a piece of the house that was as bright as could be. I remember walking through it going, how is that going to be scary?
Oh, yeah.
So many scares.
Yeah. So it's, those are a few, like if I had a whole list, maybe it would change, but those are the ones that sort of stick out in my mind. And this year, again, to be honest, I walked through several of them the other night, and it was, every one of them was at a level that I had not seen yet. Even in our, final dress rehearsal, it's like, all right, that's kind of working. I walked through with the guests, and it was crazy intense. The Universal Monsters house, Graveyard Games were even better than I had seen them just 2 days prior. So that actually, as the event goes on and the actors get more comfortable and they, again, sort of feed off the guest reaction, they learn, there's a psychology game that they learn what most guests are going to do, and then they play off that. So I think the event just gets more intense as it goes.
Hey guys, thanks for doing this. I definitely enjoyed the Stranger Things house, but I was curious as to the decision to combine both seasons 2 and 3 into one house, as opposed to, maybe pushing season 3 to next year.
What I think was variation of character. Mm-hmm. Because if you had just all demo dogs or just all one, sometimes we already had that this year where we have a lot of single aggressors or single. Does that make sense? Like the Depths of Fear creatures, Yetis. It's all kind of that singular predator, and that gave us an opportunity to get a lot of different. We have demigorgons, demidogs, a lot of different characters, different looks. And we knew it was going to be a longer maze, so we wanted just to get that variety going. And I think sometimes that outweighs.
And I think also since the previous years, Stranger Things has premiered sort of in October. With this year premiering in July, season 3 was also on everybody's minds. They had just watched it; it's fresh. So to not address that, if you will, and if we ignored it, I think people would be asking the other question of why didn't you include season 3? So we just wanted to create a bigger house, almost double size, and do both the seasons combined. So you wrap up season 2 and boom, right into season 3. So those were some of the considerations.
Hi, great event as always.
There you go. There.
Oh, it's back
in the dark.
We need like a little flag.
I've been coming to this event for years, and it's been a few years since you guys had an original event icon like Jack the Clown, the usher, or storyteller. Why over the past few years have you deviated from that, and would you potentially go back to that, especially with number 30 coming up next year?
Well, I think the second question is easy to answer, because when anyone says, would you ever do something again, we never say never.
Right, exactly.
Never, yeah. To be honest, it's for us too, it's it's easy to get stuck in a rut, and this gives you the opportunity to try and do different things and branch out. So if we ever did swing back, now we have a different perspective from working on another end, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think from a just a marketing standpoint, I think I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but I think
go right ahead.
Go ahead.
This is David Hughes, not Blake or Charles.
I think for the southeast region, or especially Central Florida, everything, they love the icon. I mean, a lot of the people, Jack the Clown, the caretaker, the director, all of those. But I think because this has become a worldwide event. I mean, people come from the other side of the globe to this event. They come from all parts of the United States. And I think part of that push is to put things out there also that they recognize that they would drive or fly 3,000, 5,000 miles to come see. And I think an original character that they've never heard of might not drive them to drive or fly that distance. So I think that might be part of it as well. But as Blake said, it doesn't mean we wouldn't do that.
I agree.
Hey guys, big fan. One question I have with the IP houses is, what is the hardest type of media to interpret into a house? Because you guys do all kinds of things, from TV, movies, video games, all kind of stuff. Which one's like the most challenging to adapt to a house?
I need to work on it, but I think from working with you guys, I've gathered, I'll see if I've guessed correctly, because in a video game, the player has control. Is it a video game?
Well, I was going to have a different answer. I was going to give an answer that wasn't going to make you happy at all.
Because I was going to say, make a good house. Sure, that's a challenge you have to.
I was going to say it's less about the medium itself, whether it's a video game or a poem or a film or television. It's more about the content of that particular thing. Sometimes it might be hard just because it's a giant CGI, Lord of the Rings superhero sort of battle thing. It's like, well, how are we going to do that in a haunted house? So we might get things that are popular and are exciting films, so to say, but then we'll get it and say, but how does this translate into a maze? So I think it's less about the medium itself and more about what the content and the story is. It's how do we, because we have to take that and sort of abstract it into a theatrical performance, for lack of a better term. And some of those things are, even Ghostbusters, which is like, oh, everybody loves to see Ghostbusters, right? And it's like, yes, okay, how do we take that, which works great on film, and then how do we do it, which is essentially a dark ride that people are walking through, and deliver on that sort of epic scale of Ghostbusters, if you will. Yeah. So I don't know that, as I said, that's not the best answer in the world, but that's the kind of way we hit it. It depends on the content itself, I think. Yeah.
What are the Easter eggs for Zombieland Double Tap?
Have you ever been on an Easter egg hunt? The eggs are hidden, and if someone tells you where they are, that's not an Easter egg hunt. So, but I will let Blake answer the question.
I think David did. I can tell you, for right now, there are some characters. If you'll notice, there is a photo op for Zombieland Double Tap, the second film that's coming out. Keep an eyeball on some of the characters that are around that zone. And that's all I'll say. I will throw out an Easter egg though of comedy, but it's from the first film. Just keep your eyes peeled for this. You guys remember they go to a very famous Hollywood actor's house? Yeah. Keep your eye peeled for that character, because I didn't even give them this direction, and they are doing stuff that is so funny out there, and it's so appropriate because here's all these scares, and then this guy. It's great. Keep your eye peeled for that. I don't want to tell you what he does because it's funnier if you see it. So just keep your eyes peeled for that.
Okay.
Hey guys, just a quick question. I know that every year Horror Nights gets a little bit bigger. We're up to 10 houses now, and I'm just wondering, considering the recent Epic announcement, will we be keeping Halloween Horror Nights here 5 years from now, or is there a grounds up kind of planning stage for a future playground?
That's way above our pay grade.
Honestly say, I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea.
They don't
I
tell
know it's going to be epic.
We only get to think about the next Halloween. That's about it.
We're only, and we haven't started yet, but that's like, in 2 weeks we start thinking about next year. But yeah, and that's an honest answer.
That's an honest answer, yeah.
No idea at all.
They're like, you guys just worry about the Halloween thing.
Way over here.
Hi.
Hi.
So it's actually my first time coming to Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if you guys had like a suggestion of something that I absolutely had to see.
Everything.
Okay, but I want to ask you a question. Are you going to come just once or more than once?
No, more than one.
Okay, so let me answer part of it. For me, my personal. So after you do all the things, right? Then get some pizza fries, and then sit on a park bench or kind of find a little place, right? And then just watch people.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all like, yeah. It is so much fun. So much fun to watch the event, because then it just kind of all washes away a little bit. Everything kind of moves, and now it's a completely different show. So don't do that your first couple times. Experience the event, see the show a bunch of times, go through the house multiple times, get all that out of your system, and then once you do, then just be in the event. And it is so, there's this, you can't.
In other words, you go out right now and get scared, and then when you're done getting scared, watch other people get scared, because it's awesome. It's my favorite perk of the job, is to sit on some little dark corner and just watch people scream ping pong style through a street.
I think those multi-night passes and things are great, because the first night you're here, first 2 nights you're stressing about, I gotta see that, I gotta see that, I gotta see that, I gotta see it, I gotta see it for everybody else too. So getting that out of your system, and then you can come back to the event and just sort of just relax. And it's like, oh, we'll go see this, we'll go see that, maybe we'll get some drinks, we'll sit down. It's, I think the second, third time you get to actually relax and maybe even enjoy the event more, where there's not that pressure to get it all done in a single night.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. What's your favorite fail, like a scene or setup that you thought was just going to nail it, and it didn't, but you still love it?
It never happened to me, but
We'll talk about what a Patrick's.
I feel like there's never truly fail.
No, there is. It's time to learn a lesson.
Yeah, it's time to learn a lesson. Challenge. No, I think sometimes we want to pack so much into a space, right? You want to get all the scenes in there. You want to get all the stuff in. And the only time that I feel there's a fail is when I don't think we've set up a performer to succeed, right? They have to fight against so much sometimes, like audio or something like that. That kind of angers me at me, like, wow, you idiot, But because the characters are the lifeblood of this thing. They're the ones who just work their tails off, and they drive everything. So, if just the audio isn't enough for them, or they can't fit through a hole or something like that. Then that's what I'm just there are so many, because there's so much potential for failure throughout the 10 houses. Each house has 10 or more scenes, so there's 100 plus scenes for performers to do things. And in those scenes there's audio, there's effects, there's lighting. So it is an amazing logistical challenge just to make sure those things are all operational by the time the event opens. So now, the original question was, what's your favorite fail?
That's a weird way to put that.
Yeah. I would go back to a house we did, 2002 over in Islands of Adventure. That was based on a television show that we currently have a show in the park, Fear Factor. And it was not the best thing in the world. It was just from conception, it was just like, there's a house, we're doing a house based on fear factor. What does that mean? It was, did anybody go through that house? Yeah. I'm sorry. You know what I'm talking about. So it's universally, no pun intended, united. So that would be one that was it just never had a strong concept, and we're trying to do things, and then we're trying to change things, and that would be.
But that's a good point. We're always changing. So like what we have tonight, if you come to last night,
it evolves.
It evolves. So if things are what you might call a fail, we'll improve it, we'll change it, and stuff like that. I mean, I've seen some performers where they'll come in and I go, ooh, I don't know if this is exactly turned out how I thought, or the room's smaller than I thought, or whatever, and then they just kill it, and you're like, wow, this is like the best scene in the house, you know? I remember in American Horror Story House, the doll room, I was in there and I was like, I want this baby powder smell, and then the actors, and I just thought in my mind it was going to be bigger. I just thought the room was going to be bigger, and then once everything was in there, I was like, I was kind of like, oh, this is a fail, cheer, you know. It did turn out to be amazing. Like that, the performers who were there were awesome. People walking in and go, whoa, the baby powder would just smack them in the face, you know, and it was just creepy, all those dolls up there and stuff. So that's kind of that type of stuff is also makes it more enjoyable when it just turns into something even better than you thought it was going to be. How about you?
Yeah. You're not getting off the hook.
I've only been doing this for a little while, so my big one's probably coming. It hasn't hit yet. I don't know. I can sit here and try to rack my brain and think of one. Expect you guys. Oh, I'll tell you what you failed on. You know what? Sometimes I will say, if there's so many people working on this event, and where you can get frustrated with yourself, kind of like Charles was saying, he get angry with himself, is communication is something we always constantly work on, and it never ends because the event gets bigger, and then these teams that you communicated with in a certain way have new or more people or whatever. And there was an element where we wanted Stillwalker to go up on this big piece, and somehow between like conception design and partnering with those that have to make that safe, it got missed, and we could no longer have the Stillwalker up on there, and we can only put regular Scaregers. And I just was so bummed out. However, the Scaregers that ended up going up there were so good and became little mini icons within the street itself that it worked itself out. So did we all kind of say it was a failure, but it turned out all right, except for you?
Yeah, my failure.
That was just straight.
Let's move on.
Hi. Oh, yikes. Okay. So I'm not a big horror fan personally, but I love the development and the design of like the houses and the scare zones. So my question was, do you guys prefer the developing stages or the finished product?
Chicken or egg, bro. A ton of fun in that initial concept.
Yeah.
That is hard to recapture until you get back to doing that again. Because then reality doesn't matter. Yeah. It's so much fun to just blue skies.
I think there's again, back to that journey, the development is awesome because we can sit in a room with 4 or 5 people and we're just throwing everything out. I mean, so there are no wrong answers, there are better answers, but there are no wrong answers.
You never said that to me.
I and then the development's fun, and then you get into the reality. So there's about a 70% into the event where it's horrible. I mean, it's where you're building all the stuff at once, and you're trying to keep track of it, and either this is not quite working, and it's that again 70 to 80% where you just want to pull your hair out. I've been doing it longer than these days. And then you get to the fulfillment, which is the end of it, when everything turns out as good or better than you thought. I mean, and that was just like 2 days ago.
It is like running a marathon, though. Yeah. The beginning of the race, you're running with your friends. You're like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. With the 13.1
and then you got 21 miles
or whatever, and you're like running. And then from mile 2 till, this hurts. This is hard. And then you see the finish line. You go, we're there.
And then throw water on you, and you're happy. So. I love to me, I personally, I love the development just because it's a lot more collaborative. And then everybody they don't go away, but everybody goes in a different direction to do their specific discipline or the thing they're focused on. And then as Blake mentioned, it's that trying to maintain that communication again through all threads to keep it floating, elevated, and keep it moving along its track.
Yeah, because for a while, like, we're living with our designer constantly, and then there's this part where you turn around and you go, I haven't seen you in like 2 weeks. Because you're out kind of doing your own thing, whether we're developing like show elements, and they're working with vendors on the scenic stuff. So it just and then so it's nice when we get to come back around when the gates open. We can actually walk around and hang out together and enjoy what's happening.
That's what we talked about a year ago, and there it is.
And boom,
it's pretty amazing.
Or you're like, what did you do? I got required. Okay.
It's somebody at some point. This lady had her hand.
She's been so patient. Can we
got to get
the next question. I want to hear what she has to say.
Right there. The three of them. All right, next.
Where?
You can go while we're waiting. You can go here. Yeah.
Hey guys, just curious. How do you decide whether you're going to go with masks or appliances for the scare zones and the houses? And are you using Gorilla Glue this year on your scare zones? Because it's amazing those pieces are staying on those guys.
What if you try to steal?
Security.
Well, that is really, on an IP front, it's really dependent on what the creature or thing looks like itself, right? Sometimes if we're trying to replicate it, we might really try to replicate if it was an actual prosthetic or something. But we have our makeup design team, our designers that come in every year, and then our costume and character designer as well. And it's really a partnership with them, especially with the original stuff. Well, there's a lot of options to go a lot of different ways, and but we take all sorts of stuff into consideration too, though. It might be, I have very much pushed the team this year because between Hollywood and Central Park, no, there's no Gorilla Glue this time. A good idea, maybe. There's a lot of prosthetics, and they get done from the same group of makeup artists. But that means early on in the process, we're talking to each other and we understand, okay, if that's the case, then we've really got the numbers that we have, we know what we need there, and we make sure this group doesn't, have a house attached to it or something that
right. When we did Hive had tons of prosthetics, so I knew that in the sound stages I couldn't have as many because there's so many man hours. You know what I mean? So many people can do it, so you have to strategize. I mean, you kind of lay it out like you're saying. Like be like, I know, we can't have. Yeah.
And yes, we use Gorilla Glue in the house. We'll anything that'll stick something, screws, silicone, Gorilla Glue. It's all That's a process unto itself. Once the decor team has everything, it looks great on a film. That's awesome. You could just like put stuff up, take pictures of it, film it, and then put it away. Our stuff, we get it up, it's there. It's like great. Now screw it to the wall, screw it to the floor, screw it to the desk, whatever. Make sure that when somebody does grab it, which they do, and they will. It at least stays unless they really put it.
I will slap their hand.
Yeah, there's no. Yeah, you don't have to test everything when you go through your house to see if it's like on the wall. It is. So you don't have to touch it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. We're good.
Oh yeah, that cup is glued to the thing. It is.
Just know that now.
Okay, very patient lady in the front row.
Hi, I was wondering what advice you might have for people who aspire to be part of the HHN creative team, particularly the writing process.
This is always hard, and we've all talked about this too. Whether it's people looking at it from a design angle or like a show direction or writing side, because we get this question a lot. But what makes it a hard answer is all of us have such different stories as far as how we ended up doing what we're doing.
I would say we don't have just a writer. I can be honest.
No, that's why
we don't have just a director. We don't have just. We're a jack of all trades, and so I can honestly say every single person on our team when we first started was like, what you don't know is blaring what you don't know because you got to know everything, right? Like lighting, audio, all the different factors. So for our team and the concept team, we're doing everything, which is kind of rare in the business. Like we see from the beginning all the way to the end. Usually we would have like just a writer, and then they would take it and they would just be the director and stuff like that. But I think in our group it's...
Well, and I don't know if and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, does anybody in our group have what you consider formal writing training or education, as far as part of, I mean, that was the thing. A lot of us have theater in our background. I was theater design. I know the performance and
I have
theater
taken
and comedy.
classes after, just because I didn't do a lot of writing stuff in school. So actually, I knew that was a weak thing for me, and I had created some shows for another company before I moved down here to Florida, and I loved this. Like the first script that I had on my own that I wrote and produced, it was this like murder mystery comedy thing, and I loved it, but I hated doing it because it was so hard. I was directing it while I wrote it, in the sense of, instead of just spitting it out, I was really editing, and it took me way longer than it would for a pro writer. And because I knew that, I started taking some like online courses and stuff just to supplement that side, because it was just something I didn't have in my wheelhouse as far as training was concerned, where I had done directing courses and stuff like that, but I really hadn't studied much on the writing side of things.
And I think, like drawing or art, I think if you're interested in writing, it's write. Just write. Yeah. Don't wait to write the perfect thing. You write 10,000 bad things first, and then you'll get that good.
Because like opportunity doesn't like wait for you to be like, I'm ready now. Now opportunity. You know, it's one of those.
I'm perfect. Someone hire me now. You know?
Yeah. So you're just like, well, what do you got? And then you have to like have it ready to go. And it always is in an opportune time when opportunity pops up a lot of times. So you got to be.
Yeah, you're not ready for it. It's like, oh wait, oh it's now. Now I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, specifically if you're interested in sort of HHN or entertainment, theater is paramount. But I think if you go to any theatrical department in college or university, you get a well-rounded. You learning about other disciplines, not just the one you're interested in. If you want to be a performer, learning about stagecraft and learning about lighting is helpful. Only in that you can communicate with people. You know the language. It's like learning French, Spanish, and German. When you're talking to them about different things, you understand what they're talking about and can speak their language. So I think taking theater craft classes, if you're a designer or writer, taking acting classes just so you understand. So kind of immersing yourself in the entertainment environment, I think, helps you understand, and again, it helps you be more well-rounded.
You could speak more to this, but I will say I've met a lot of young people who want to go into design and stuff, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you. Okay. It's a relationship we have. But a lot of the schools are teaching like a lot of the computer aspects of it, but the freehand or drawing, some of them are kind of straying away from that. So I always tell young kids who are like, oh, I want to design this stuff. I'm like, you make sure you're learning how to dribble the basketball too. Make sure you're still drawing and put the computer away, turn it off, and actually pen to paper and on your drafting board or whatever, get that skill too, because even if things go digital, there's always the power's going to go out some days, right?
Well, I think it's also just in our world it's paramount. Communication is key. A lot of people will come in and they're home haunters or they've been doing it, and they have multiple talents, and they've been the person that's been doing it all the whole time. In our world, it's more about being able to translate your idea so that other people can work on it as well. Because in our world, you don't do it all. You can't. It's just impossible. You have to collaborate. You have to work with the other people. And as a result, you have to be able to communicate, whether it's through drawings, words, scripts, ideas. You have to be able to communicate your ideas so somebody else can do it or take it forward. When we do our set drawings, the whole idea is we do these drawings so that we can hand them to a scenic department, a scenic company, and they can build from those. So it's all about forms of communication. Drawing, doing scenic elevations, concept art, whatever it is, it's putting it together so that you can communicate that to somebody else. They can carry the ball from that point and communicate it to other people, because in this thing, you can't do it by yourself. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people that work.
And it's moving so fast that if you do miscommunicate, if there is a miscommunication, it's going to ripple effect through this whole, the dominoes are crazy. So you have to be clear, like you said, and also be able to prioritize in any of your crafting or whatever. A lot of times, I think whether you're writing or painting or whatever you're doing, a lot of times you're like, I want this to be perfect, and you take your time, and then if you were to come in and work with us, you'd be like, okay, awesome, I need that by tomorrow. Like, what? Like it takes me like a week, and be like, look, you got a day.
But
so you got to learn to prioritize. Like what's the most important? How do I boil this down? You know,
all that other stuff. I'd say like actually doing these jobs. Having the talent portion to do it is like the given. The part that really makes or breaks you is all this other stuff that we're talking about, you know, communication and being able to finish something, because finished and good is better than perfect and quarter done.
Get it done and get it done. Also, I think in everything we work on, everything we end up with is a translation of what we started with.
Yeah.
It's never exactly where we started, and we'll walk out and say, well, that's not what I was thinking, but that's pretty good. You know, so again, when you're working with so many people, it's not going to be black and white. It's not going to be exactly what you thought. So it has to land in a landing zone. There's a window that it has to fit through. And I think that if it gets in that window, or if it's in that landing zone, we're happy. It's when it's way over here. It's like, that is not at all what I was talking about. And that's our job, is to make sure that we sort of keep it along a path. And as long as it's on the path, then we're good. Yeah. Back that way.
Hey, what was the process in wanting to do a Rob Zombie Scare Zone based off his album and a separate Rob Zombie house based off one of his movies all in the same year?
I think it was just serendipitous. I don't know. It was actually.
That wasn't
a plan. It wasn't a plan. It just like that's one of those cases where it wasn't because you could say, well, why wouldn't you wait till next year to do Rob Zombie this, or I don't know. It just felt right.
Yeah, and actually, Mike Aiello, he had said to me that the idea of something with like Rob Zombie, the music, not
Rob Zombie, the director.
Rob Zombie, but his music, maybe at some point it had floated of maybe doing something. Had been floating around, and so sometimes it's a thought out plan. Other times it does kind of work out. Lucky that we're going to do it. For developing it. To be honest, I just started going through and mining like all of his videos and just going through and looking at every single character, every piece of scenic that's inside of it, because I knew with something like that, just like Ghostbusters, you have so many hardcore dedicated fans to Rob Zombie that getting those details is going to be really, really important. And I didn't know that the designer, Dylan Coliff, was such a fan of Rob Zombie, and he is, and he it's great because he incorporated a lot of little things. I mean, that throne isn't in the music videos, but it's inside the album art. Of the album, you'll see Rob Zombie actually sitting on that throne that we've got there for a photo op. So just making sure that all those little details were covered, and because there were such distinct characters that are in his music videos, it's great because they look like stuff that we would have done at Halloween Horror Nights. So these group of characters look great, so let's build some scenic around those guys and have these people live out here. And just sort of looking at the different things. And from the beginning, Living Dead Girl was always a big part of it because it's already so theatrical in its presentation, and so we knew for sure that it had to be out there. And Dragula at first was going to be a set and that, and then I think it was Dylan that suggested, because we already had enough sets, like people love, it's such an iconic music video, let's give guests the opportunity to actually be in the Dragula vehicle and get their picture taken in it. Which is actually kind of a new thing, speaking of that, of looking stuff for the scare zones that we had done before. 15 years ago, we weren't worried about pictures, but now everybody's got like a 12 megapixel camera just on their phone. So you do want those elements. You want to be able to have those things. So we actually incorporated moments that we knew people would also to get good photos of. Sometimes it's stuff like the fashion runway in Vanity Ball, but Rob Zombieland. In Rob Zombie, Hellbilly Deluxe, it was actually creating elements people could actually take photos with from those iconic music videos. But it was a ton of fun. His music videos are filmed like he films, very frenetic, and I will say it was real hard actually to get some good looks, some good screen caps to see because the camera's moving so fast. But Rob Zombie and his people actually reached out to us and got us some really good HD versions of stuff so that we could look through everything better. And we also had some backstage photos and stuff for some of the creatures to help us put those together. And it was just cool when his manager called and said, "Dude, he thinks this stuff's awesome." I was like,
Yeah, we geek out quite a bit too.
The house, I think, is something we've been always been tossing about for years.
Because Hollywood's done it a couple times.
I know they've done it at least once.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you see the film, it seems like a no-brainer because that whole movie is essentially designed like a haunted house maze that you walk through.
Yeah.
So it just took us that long to sort of work it out or make sure it fit into the event for that particular year. So I was glad we got to do it. Like I said, it was just sort of serendipitous that both the Street Zone and the house appeared at the same time.
Over there?
Yeah, okay.
Well, you actually kind of just asked what I was originally going to, or excuse me, you answered what I was originally going to ask, which was, Hollywood has done A House of 1,000 Corpses 3 times now.
3 times, okay, so 3 times. There you go.
And it was actually a house at Hollywood before it was even a movie, so there's that long-standing relationship.
Right.
So I guess, just off the top of my head, because it's cool to be able to talk to you guys, Mr. Gray, you have always said you wanted to do a Bigfoot house. Kind of got the opportunity in Slaughter Cinema last year, and that was like the best scene with the swamp yetis. So now you got your full Yeti house. I was just wondering, so now that you've got that, what would be your number 2, like, hey, what can I twist or change from Slaughter Cinema and make into...
From Slaughter Cinema specifically?
I think that's the one that has the most potential for kind of like a quasi reboot.
I think it'd be fun to do. I don't know. There's a lot. When you say B movies,
there's so many bad things.
So many bad things you can do. So I'm sure there's other films out there or something. But from that particular house, let me walk through it in my head.
I know what I want. I want the midnight snack.
That was one of the funniest things where we called them falafel.
The giant head.
The giant head. That came out. I think one of the makeup artists, the one who was working on it, said had just eaten a falafel or something. I was like, yeah, it's like a falafel. Like, okay, that's his name. That's cool. But just that was a lot of fun. I think the facade video was the most fun because. Just a funny backstory, and don't tell anybody else this. Those are my 2 little girls in the Shitties Kids.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. So I go, do you want to do this video with Daddy? And my one girl, the youngest one, she was also...
she does voiceover work as well.
Yeah, she was also in Run. She was Wild Child. Well, she was tiny. She was like yelling.
They have a vocal appearance in Graveyard Games.
Yeah, they're both in the Graveyard Games too. So that's a whole nother story. But I was like, oh, do you want to be in a movie with that? And the little one's like, yeah. And then the younger one, the older one goes, I don't know if I want. I go, you get to kill Daddy, and they go, yeah. Okay, that's not creepy. Not at all.
I'll eat your guts for dinner.
Yeah,
my favorite.
Yeah. So the video itself was such. I mean, we pulled in so many favors for that.
That was a ton of fun to do.
It was a ton of fun. It was exhausting, but it was awesome. So shout out to Chad Rouchy and the video team for that. They were great. But yeah, man, I don't have a complete answer for that because almost any scene in there. It would be a great movie, Amazon Cannibals from Planet Hell. Come on, that's awesome. Who wouldn't want to do that? Yeah, so there's a lot. You never know. You never know. You never know.
Never know.
So you alluded to there being stories with the Ghostbuster house, especially with you guys wanting to do it for so long. So what were some of your favorite things about doing the house, and what were some of your least favorite things about having to translate it onto the screen or into the house?
I gotta say, I think one of my least favorite was just trying to cram all of that into one small soundstage, big relative. It was just that because we wanted, it's like we would have made it twice as big if we could, because that was probably the least. Because as a result, you have to change, alter, cut, whatever, just to make it fit. I think one of my favorite things about doing that was just the figuring out how we were going to do the, either ghost effects or little things here and there. And then I love a lot of people seen it yet? I don't want to ruin anything for everybody, but I just love I love both iterations of Slimer. What we call Pepper's Ghost, as well as the physical embodiment of him. It was just, I've walked through it many times just by myself, with just the stuff going on, the lights on. But walking through it with all of you, I don't know how many times I'm scared, not many, but I just walk out with a grin. I walk out smiling and sort of bouncing the whole time. So I don't even know if people care if they get scared. I'm just happy to be here, sort of thing. And it's so much fun walking out of the house with the music popping and everything. And I hope that's how everybody feels when they go through. It's just, again, it's just like, I can't believe I'm seeing this. This is so much fun.
Yeah. So what I was the most stressed out about, but I'm also the most happy with now is, and I think I mentioned that during our thing 2 nights ago here, but I was just talking about, or I basically wrote down, like I watched the movie and wrote down every moment I would want to see or hear or encounter. And it was thick. It took all night long.
Oh wait, that's the whole movie.
I was like, yeah, you just watch the movie, right? Because I was like, every moment in there is so iconic. Every line of dialogue, everything's so quotable. I was like, how are we going to do this? And how do you select what we're going to see, what we're not going to see? It was driving me mad. Like I was actually like, just my wife was like, you need to chill, bro. And have you guys happy with it, right? And have us happy with it. And so one thing that I'm happy that decision that we made was, what a lot of times what happens is you hit a trigger, the actor comes out, and then while they're resetting it, it'll go dark, and then you move on, and then they reset and you hit it again. So the triggers are a little bit longer because what will happen is something will happen, I'm not going to tell you what, but something will happen, and then we tacked on a line of dialogue at the end while the actor's resetting, but then you'll hear a line of dialogue that you really wanted to hear at the end of the trigger. So it's a lot of fun. Like you might be walking through, you might get hit by a terror dog, like rah, like oh, and then you'll hear like aim for the flat top. That character's not necessarily there, but you can hear it. So it puts you in the mood. Like oh, you let the dog out, that kind of thing. Lewis isn't there in the moment, but you hear it because you're in the apartment. You see the door moving. So yes.
What was your question?
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Thank you. So, a question about Stranger Things house. I really enjoyed it, but there's so much source material to choose from season 2 and season 3. How do you guys to see what scenes you're going to put in there? Because it seemed to really favor season 2 more than 3. Specifically, I didn't see a lot of like the underground area below Starcourt Mall, and there wasn't like the machine that opened up the portal. I was kind of wondering why that wasn't in there, because that was a big part of season 3.
You answered your question with the word big. That's part of it. All right, funny story, or not so funny. We knew we were going to be doing the Stranger Things house, but at the time, so if you don't all know, we do our stuff back in December or January. Well, this show wasn't even premiering until July, so we didn't even have scripts. We didn't know what the show was. They were still filming, still developing the show, and that show was under super, super tight lock and key at the time. So, we developed. We knew we wanted to sort of split the house sort of in half as much as possible. So we were able to develop the first half. Season 2, because that's out. We have all the reference we could possibly need. When we got to season 3, Mike Aiello had gone out to LA to Netflix's studios or their office, and I can't remember. I think he read the scripts, all 8 episodes, all 8 episodes. And kind of just took down, he read it, and then when he was done, he just came out and sort of just tried to write down everything he remembered about that. And I'd love to get a transcript of it, because actually it was freaking amazing. His memory and mind was able to capture everything about that house. So afterwards, we kind of broke it down based on his translation of the script as to what seemed to be the key moments. And we kind of plugged those in as holes. throughout the throughout the maze. Like, all right, we'll develop this thing that he talked about here and here and here. We didn't get, I don't know, we never got a full script or anything like that. It was.
Oh, everybody gets to watch it.
But that wasn't until we had developed. So we had no drawings. We did get some photographs. Assets leaked in. Not leaked. That's not the right word.
Nope, that's not the right word.
We're given very, but a couple photographs of what was on set. So we knew like the cabin, and then we had was it October? I guess last year we went out. We went up. That's what it was. We went in October of last year. We went up to, God, this was amazing. We went up to Atlanta in October, and were able to tour some of the sets that were still standing. And they allowed us to take pictures. It was crazy. So we were able to. We toured the cabin, all the residential areas, and the Death Star, which is what they called the big Russian underground laboratory. They called it the Death Star because there are a lot of elements that resembled the Death Star. And they were there filming the day we were there. I was like, oh God, we were all completely geeking out when we were doing this. So we were able to take pictures. And from those pictures, we were able to develop. Now, if you'd been in this place with that giant, now the machine was mostly CGI. I mean, the big thing, the big control room and all that was in, that was all there. And the big gate was a big giant green screen. So just the scale, just trying to translate that into, it was more space than we could have accommodated to do it justice. We went to the mall, which is actually, I don't know if you all know this, is probably common knowledge now, that the mall was actually a mall in Atlanta, a food court that they completely rehabbed and shot all the scenes in there. The monster was completely CGI, so that wasn't there when we were there. But we knew that was going to be our big thing, because we can't do three big things in a maze, because then that's what we'd have is three giant things. So that was kind of, we had to pick and choose, and we, since the Starcourt Wall attack on Starcourt is kind of the big epic finale. I know it cuts back and forth, but that was the big, and we thought we could do a monster. We said that not knowing whether we could do it or not. So that was part of the reason. We kind of hint at the Russian underground base, but it's, again, size restraints. We'd take up 2 sound stages if we could, but there are logistical reasons for that. That was a long-winded answer. Sorry about that.
Netflix is awesome.
Yeah, they were. Oh my God, they are so awesome to work with, and we're hoping we can maintain that relationship.
We really do. Again, we are you. Mm-hmm. We are fans, and we love what we do. We do it for you. We do it for ourselves. We try to make you happy. We make ourselves happy, but it's very, very rewarding. But we're all family. But you know what I mean? We are just as geeked out as you guys get about stuff and excited.
We do what we do because it's what we want to see as well. It's about what we all want to see. But again, we're like you. We want to see this thing. We just happen to be the people that have to we have to make it first before we can see it, and then allow you to see it. So it's we do it because we love all of the genres, the materials. We love doing the originals because it challenges us to come up with new and exciting ideas.
But we love you guys.
Thank you for coming out.